Love is a four-letter word that holds an immense, meaningful, and fresh emotional kingdom. This feeling can often be analyzed and given 1,000 forms: love, affection, infatuation, obsession, addiction, and so much more. For some, it even turns into an unhealthy obsession. Just as everyone's definition of love differs, so does the way they love. Some people's love is like a freshly bloomed flower, attractive and fragrant. Their hearts are filled with such harmony that people can't stop praising them. From alleyway hangouts to tea stalls in the neighborhood, discussions buzz about their perfect match. How did such a couple even come to be? Such a royal pair, unbreakable, enviable. But on the flip side of this flower-like love, there's not always hatred. As I said, love has types. Some people can never get carried away by the cliché rules of romance. Even uttering the word love feels like a thrilling and adventurous task, like conquering Mount Everest. So, naturally, their expression of love becomes very different. Instead of expressing affection, the desire to claim dominates. The method of claiming could be forceful or even ugly. That's the sad part. To some, that's a toxic love. To others, it's unhealthy. Many would argue, how is this even love? It's not love at all. It's mere addiction. A dangerous obsession. And for teens who grew up on dark romance and foreign media, it's dangerous love. Beyond all these analyses and definitions, there exists yet another form of feeling, something more like one-sided love or unspoken affection. Without ever revealing their feelings, someone can spend days and nights loving in silence. Just a glimpse of the beloved can light up the heart. Love overflows, fills the soul. From campus corridors to the quiet corners of the library stacked with books, the reckless, destructive mind keeps chasing after glimpses of that dusky-skinned boy. And along with that mind, the body follows suit. That's what happens when one gives control of their heart to someone else. The day feels incomplete without seeing him on campus. Like now, the heart feels eerily still, like a dead, quiet afternoon. All excitement, all longing fades away. Thirsty eyes desperately seek the sight of their favorite man. Seconds, minutes, hours pass, but the eyes never tire of watching him. What is it about this dusky-skinned man? He's not particularly handsome, not muscular like a Bollywood or Hollywood hero. But he has a neat, tall figure, and his smile. Oh, that smile! The way those dimples ripple on his cheeks when he grins, it's beautiful. He's sitting right across the table in the corner of the library. This must be his favorite spot. He sits here daily, reading. And why wouldn't he? Nikhil is one of the university's brightest students, active in everything from student protests to elections. In fact, he's the current vice president. Everyone knows him. But he never compromises on his studies. Even now, he's lost in a book, earphones in, flipping pages with focus. Watching this scene from so close, how surreal. Time could just stop here. Today the library is quite empty. Most seniors are absent. Maybe this is a good chance to strike up a conversation? Nikhil. Hey, Nikhil. Aru knocks softly on the table with a shy smile. But Nikhil doesn't even glance. What's with this complete ignorance? Doesn't it hurt, Aru? Still, swallowing her pride, she calls him again. No response. Instead, without looking at her, Nikhil pushes a small alarm clock toward her with his left hand, one that is now blaring loudly in her ears. Ugh, why are you being so annoying? Why give me this, Nikhil? Still, he remains silent. The alarm blares even louder, ringing violently in her ears and mind. Aru can't take it anymore. In frustration, she yells out, "Please turn it off, Nikhil. I can't take it anymore." In a panic, she throws off her comforter and bolts upright. She's awake. Still drowsy, it takes her a moment to gather where she is. Slowly, she realizes she's in her king-sized bed in the palace-like master bedroom. With a quiet sigh, she bites her lip and starts tying up her knee-length silky hair in a messy bun. First thing, she turns off that horrible alarm clock. Then she opens the heavy old curtains, letting sunlight flood the room. She settles down with her laptop and begins the annoying routine, sending emails. This has been part of her routine for the past year. Why doesn't Appa, older sister, understand that? Aru lets out another quiet sigh. When the email is sent, She slumps back into the hard wooden chair and stares vacantly out the window. She's not wearing fancy pajamas, just a simple palazzo and oversized t-shirt like any ordinary Bengali girl would wear to bed. Outside, beyond the ornate wrought iron grills of the grand windows, bougainvillea blooms stretch as far as the eye can see. Spring is in full swing, and the front yard looks especially beautiful. This mansion is one of the most well-known old houses in Old Dhaka. Legend says the ancestors here were Naib Gamastas, royal officials. Even though the zamindari system ended, the family retained its leadership and aristocratic air. Generation after generation, they've remained political heavyweights. Aru doesn't know which generation built the house. But it's old, spread across almost 10 bighas of land. A mini dream palace. It takes 10 minutes to walk from the main gate to the mansion doors, longer if you stroll. And then you see the enormous garden-covered gate with a marble plaque reading, Kritik Kunj. 30 years ago, the gate and name were different. But when the youngest heir was born, the grandfather renamed the house after him. The iron gates were replaced with marble, and the name Kritik Kunj was engraved in delicate letters. Time has changed. So have the powerful, aristocratic people who once filled the halls. Now most rooms of Kritik Kunj lie empty. Their legacy and political achievements are now only gossip fodder. But the family's real estate business flourishes, globally renowned. 30% of the country's domestic product supply comes from them. Even the government speaks with caution when dealing with this family. Unfortunately, this family has only money, no family. Aru mutters bitterly. Just then, from downstairs, her sister Anu's stern voice rings out. Aru, come eat now. Should I bring a palanquin to carry you down? If we're late to the hospital, you'll see. Clearly, she's furious. Aru glances at the wall clock. 9:35 a.m. Oh no. I spent so much time daydreaming. And I plan to go to the university today too. Appa will definitely yell at me. In one corner of the huge hallroom is the kitchen, beside which sits a small dining area for 4. There, Aru's older sister Anu is laying out breakfast. They don't use anything in the house unless absolutely necessary. They only claim the minimum of their rights. Anu is still plating food when Aru walks in, fully dressed, wearing a top and skirt, carrying a handmade bead bag. Seeing Aru's tidy look makes Anu's mood worse. Her anger bursts out the moment Aru sits down. So now you show up? What were you doing, locked up in your room? Do you know how late I'm getting to the hospital because of you? Aru replies casually while biting into her egg roll. Just getting ready, Appa. You're always late. And why are you even getting ready? How many times have I told you not to go to the university? I can't manage all this alone. I'm exhausted. Anu breathes heavily. Part 1. Aru stays silent despite the barrage of complaints. Just asks quietly, How's Ma now, Appa? Anu snaps again. Why don't you go see for yourself? I can't, Appa. It hurts too much to see her lying there so still. The smell of Dettol and Hexasol in the hospital makes it hard to breathe. I feel suffocated. Anu sighs inwardly. Ever since their mother fell ill, Aru, the once wild, playful sister, has changed. The girl who once spent days with friends, giggling and making endless demands, now barely speaks. This transformation is huge for a free-spirited girl like Aru. She's only just turned 19. That's why Anu keeps her away from the hospital chaos. But even she loses patience. The burden of her mother's illness and the hospital-home-hospital cycle eats away at her. The frustration boils over, and little Aru often becomes the target. Anu has tried to promise herself she won't lash out. But by the end of the day, she forgets everything. Appa, I'm going. I won't go anywhere for the next week. I'll cook and do everything. Please don't be mad. Hey, wait. Anu calls out. Aru turns. The email. Aru knows what she's about to say. I've sent it, she replies, stepping closer. Any reply? Anu asks. Aru gave a dismissive laugh and said, Appa, come on. After sending emails continuously for a whole year without getting a single reply, do you really think one will suddenly come now? Don't get your hopes up so high. Finishing her sentence, Aru walked away briskly, leaving the palace-like mansion behind. After Aru left, Anu muttered absent-mindedly, "I still believe that one day, Aru will get a reply. And then we'll take Ma abroad for proper treatment. The day Ma returns healthy again, all our sorrows will finally come to an end." The streets of old Dhaka were tangled like knotted hair, filled with a web of electronic wires. On either side of the road stood iron, turmeric, chili, sari, biryani, and molasses wholesale shops, exuding a rusty, musty smell, sometimes pungent, sometimes oddly pleasant. Above, the sun poured down sharp rays. It was going to be a hot day. Past the rows of shops, the sound of auto-rickshaws tinkled through the air as they headed toward Jagannath University. Aru sat in one of them. Her full name, Marin Sheikh Aurora. She had just been admitted to university this year. But the excitement of growing up, the joys of college, and the thrill of friends, none of it touched her. The reason? Her mother's heart condition. She used to be able to walk around before, but for the past year, Aru's mother, Asmari Sheikh, had been confined to a hospital bed. To care for her day and night, Aru's elder sister, Mabin Sheikh Ananya, had stopped her education right after high school. Aru knew her elder sister hadn't always been so hot-tempered. It had only started over the past year. She also knew how many sacrifices Anu had made for the family. Even though Anu wasn't much older, they were practically the same age. She had given up so much. That's why Aru never took Anu's angry outbursts to heart. The rickshaw pulled up to the destination, ending Aru's wandering thoughts. Standing at the university gate, Aru took a deep breath. This was the only place where she could breathe freely, where she felt a sliver of peace. And if she happened to catch a glimpse of that comforting person, well, nothing could beat that. The one she dreamed about every day, in beautiful, silent dreams. Aru knew she didn't have the courage to confess or even talk to Nikhil properly. Besides, he was a senior, graduating this year. But still, her stubborn heart didn't listen. On the canvas of her mind's colors and brushes, she kept sketching his face again and again. When will the day come when Nikhil will say, "Aru, listen, I like you too. I paint you on the canvas of my heart as well"? A hopeless dream. Behind her, Nilama's dry, sharp voice brought Aru out of her fantasy. Aru's silly smile vanished. She made a small pout and asked, "How did you hear what I was thinking?" "With the tone you were using, not just me, even the rickshaw driver uncle probably heard it too." "Too bad Nikhil didn't." "How would he? You hide like a thief whenever he's nearby." "That's true. Let's go inside." As they passed through the gate, Nilama asked, "How's Auntie doing? Any better?" "Same as always. Got scolded by Appa again today." Nilama had long run out of comforting words. She had already said everything she could. Now, instead of comforting, she asked bluntly, "Did your brother's company send an email?" She felt awkward asking. Aru usually avoided this topic. At most, she'd nod or say, This time was no different. Aru silently shook her head. Nilama felt an odd anger rising in her. Even though it was a private matter, she couldn't help but think, what kind of brother is this? Doesn't even check on his mother? No communication at all? And who sends emails in this day and age to stay in touch? Unable to hold it in, Nilama blurted, "What kind of brother leaves his mother behind in this country and stays abroad like nothing happened?" Aru gave a faint smile, not quite understanding why Nilama was suddenly so angry. Still, in a soft voice, she said, "He is not my sibling." "Then what?" "Step-brother. Your uncle's second wife's son." Aru smiled again. Why was this girl so curious? "No, it's not that either." "Then what kind of brother is he?" Before Aru could answer, Taithi arrived between them. And with that, the mysterious conversation about Mr. Zion Kritika came to an abrupt end. A spring morning. It was a spring morning, with a gentle breeze rustling through the air. It must have been around 10 or 11, yet the sun blazed fiercely above, dancing wildly in the sky. Winter hadn't quite left, but the sun had already begun to scorch the earth with its intensity. Taithi, pushing the slanting rays off her back, hurried over to the shade under the banyan tree. Aru and Nilima were already there. "Why did you come running like that? Did something happen?" Nilima asked, her voice full of concern. Aru also looked at her with a questioning gaze. Since joining university, these two had become Aru's closest, perhaps only, friends in the entire Bangla department. Between the two, introverted Nilima was the quieter one, while Taithi was the exact opposite, outspoken, vibrant, and always up to date with all the gossip or important news. Aru rarely interacted with anyone else in class. Why would she? Her university life was already fragile. Even for attendance, her aunt barely allowed her to come. Still, driven by her sister's scolding, she showed up once or twice a month, not for studying, but just for a glimpse of the dark-skinned boy she secretly adored. One glance at his face, captured silently in her heart, brought her peace. Panting heavily, Taithi said, "Water, give me some water first, then I'll tell you everything." Nilima handed her a water bottle from her bag. Taithi gulped it down in one go and sighed with relief. "Ah, finally I can breathe again." "What happened?" "You still haven't said," Aru asked again. Taithi stepped closer, grabbed Aru's hand, and said, "Oh right, I was coming to find you. Why didn't you come to university yesterday? If you had, you would have known everything." "What happened?" "And you already know why I didn't come, so why ask again?" Aru replied calmly. "There was a convocation ceremony yesterday. Nikhil received the award for Best Student." Nilima let out a relaxed sigh. "Oh, that's good news." Taithi continued, "Then there was another announcement. I found out about it later from some seniors." Aru's eyes sharpened. "What?" "Nikhil won't be doing his master's. He got a scholarship for higher studies. He'll be leaving for the US very soon." Aru didn't flinch. No reaction at all. Not even the slightest hint of discomfort crossed her face. Was she really okay? Inside, a storm had begun to rage, like someone had grabbed her heart and was squeezing it tightly. Her throat felt dry as wood. Still, keeping a blank expression, Aru simply responded with a quiet, "Oh." That one word burned her throat like fire, but she still held onto her fake smile in front of her friends. Because whatever else she might be, Aru was not the kind of girl to sob and beg for sympathy over an unrequited love, or crush, as they now call it. People already pitied her enough because of her mother's illness, and that alone made her feel like her skin was burning. Aru hated pity. But when it came to her rights, she was always alert. What was hers, was hers. But Nikhil he was never hers. Not even once. She had only ever loved him silently. To him, Aru was nothing more than a little sister. In fact, as a student leader, he saw all junior girls as sisters. Aru was nothing special. "Look, Nikhil is coming this way," Taithi suddenly said. Aru's daydream snapped in an instant. She quickly looked up and saw Nikhil walking from campus toward the gate, wearing a navy blue kurta with black denim, looking effortlessly handsome, a laptop bag slung over one shoulder and headphones in his ears. Staring dreamily, Taithi murmured, "What could he possibly be listening to so intently?" In the scorching sun, his bright dusky face glistened, and that beautiful smile lingered on his lips. Aru could close her eyes and say with certainty, it wouldn't take more than a moment for any girl to fall for this innocent-looking guy. The moment Nikhil appeared in front of them, everyone greeted him with a respectful salaam in unison. He was a senior, after all. Nikhil paused briefly to return their greetings, then instead of walking past, he took a few steps toward them. Seeing Nikhil approach, Aru shrank behind Nilima. Her body drooped like a severed flower. "Hey, aren't you Aurora?" Startled like a thief caught red-handed, Aru quickly turned her head and nodded slightly. "Yes, Bia. Doing well. You're not afraid to cross the road anymore, are you?" His kind, courteous tone caught Aru off guard again. "Nikhil is asking you something, Aru. Say something." Taithi nudged her, snapping her out of her daze. Aru shook her head both yes and no, unsure of what to say or do. Nilima and Taithi exchanged surprised glances. This was the same girl who usually had a comeback for everything. Now she was acting like a wet kitten? Sensing the juniors were feeling awkward, Nikhil didn't stay any longer. He politely excused himself and left quickly. The moment he left, Nilima flared up. "You idiot! That was your last chance. Nikhil came over himself, and what did you do? You just nodded your head like a clueless dummy. Aru didn't respond. She didn't feel like talking. Her head was spinning, and her throat tasted bitter, like neem leaves. Everything felt hollow around her. Maybe her blood pressure had dropped. Blinking several times, Aru softly said, "I don't feel well. I want to go home. Tithi, can you get me a rickshaw?" "Go if you must, but at least mark your attendance first," Nilima replied. That snapped something inside Aru. Her dizziness turned to irritation. She lashed out. "I said I'm going home." Tired in both body and soul, Aru stumbled into Kritika Kunj. The giant front gate creaked open loudly, irritating her further. Her uncle, aunt, and only cousin Rezwan, aka Reza, were here. To Aru and Anu, this family was nothing but trouble. They showed up unannounced and always brought drama with them. Back when Asmari Sheikh was healthy, they'd visit day and night, feast on royal meals, laze on luxurious couches, and stay for 10 days straight. They never even talked about leaving. Reza, Aru's cousin, was a local thug. He'd even bring his rowdy gang along to their rich aunt's house. Aru and Anu were always deeply embarrassed. No matter the circumstances, mooching off someone else's home wasn't something they could accept. Asmari Sheikh never said much. He was her only brother after all. And if Aru or Anu said anything, he'd glare at them behind her back. But things changed when Asmari fell ill and became bedridden. That's when Aru saw their uncle and aunt's true colors. They didn't visit her in the hospital, not even once in an entire year. Instead, they kept showing up at the house every other day with Reza, constantly stressing Anu out. Their reasoning was always the same. The girls have no father, and the mother won't last much longer. Once the young master of the house returns, they'll be out on the streets. So why not marry Anu off to our Reza now and secure their future? Aru couldn't understand why they always made it sound like she and Anu would end up floating down a river. What crime had they committed? Anu was already full of rage, and this only made it worse. She'd scream and shout while their aunt would throw back poisonous barbs. Their visits always meant conflict and unrest. Aru glanced around the living room. No sign of Anu. So she's still at the hospital. That's a relief, she thought. Her aunt sat at the dining table, chewing grapes. Reza lounged on the couch, legs crossed, watching TV. Her uncle was nowhere to be seen. Aru took it all in and pretended not to see any of it as she headed toward the stairs. Just 2 steps up, her aunt called out. "So you saw us sitting here and still marched right upstairs without a word? Don't you see your aunt? And where's your sister-in-law?" Aru clenched her eyes shut. This was exactly what she'd feared. So many questions. What could she even say? She turned and said calmly, "I've got a headache, Aunt. I'm going to rest. And Appa is at the hospital with Mom." "Of course, rest all you want. Enjoy yourself while you can. Once the owner of this house returns, you girls will be thrown out by the neck. I've told Anu countless times, just marry Reza already. But she's grown so insolent. Talks back to elders. That's what happens when there's no parental control." Her aunt's words reignited the fire in Aru. The sharp jabs stung like needles. Without turning around, she shot back. "That comfy chair you're sitting in, it was bought with the money of the young master of this house, Aunt. And besides, while Jamshet Zayan Chowdhury may be gone, my mother is the current chairperson of the JK Group's governing body." Her aunt sneered. This little girl sure has grown a sharp tongue, she thought. Then, like drawing an arrow against an enemy, she said, "Maybe your mother has rights, but you girls? You have none. You're just floating weeds. And your mother won't last more than 6 months, tops. Aunt, that's enough. Our mother will be fine. We're taking her abroad for treatment." That poisonous smile returned to her aunt's lips. "And you think Zayan Kritika Chowdhury or his company is waiting to take you there? From what I heard, he left this house because of you." Aru couldn't argue anymore. Her anxious, knotted mind couldn't bear the weight. Her hands and legs trembled. Not a word would come out of her throat. She hadn't expected her aunt to attack her this viciously. She scanned the room again, met with hostile, burning eyes that seemed ready to reduce her to ashes. She didn't wait another second. Rushing up the stairs, she reached her room and slammed the door shut. Inside, she felt torn apart. Helplessness clung to her like a creeping jungle vine. Her aunt's cruel words made the pain of Nikhil leaving sting even more. She couldn't take it anymore. Why couldn't life be normal, like Nilima's or Tithi's? Why did she have to bear such burdens? Why couldn't she just express her feelings for Nikhil by? Was it because she was introverted? Or was it because of the constant family chaos and responsibilities? As she kept thinking about Nikhil's departure, her mind drifted to the day they first met. It was just a few months ago. Aru had come for university admission. Because of her mother's illness, she had missed the chance to study at the prestigious Dhaka University. Still, with moderate preparation, she had gotten into a cluster university. Today she had come with documents to complete her submission. It was a chilly winter morning. Though the cold hadn't fully settled in, the soft golden sunlight made everything feel warm and comfortable. The roads were crowded with long rows of cars, typical Dhaka morning traffic. Though she'd grown up in the city, Aru had never crossed busy roads alone. So there she stood, helpless, on one side of the university street, waiting for a chance to run across. Others were crossing through gaps between cars, but Aru couldn't. She'd take a step forward, then retreat 2 steps back. She kept at this left-right dance for nearly half an hour. Frustrated, she wondered, how would she do this every day? Scared. A masculine voice sliced through the air like an arrow. Aru turned around in shock. A man with a dimpled, gentle smile was looking right at her. Aru froze. She said nothing. How could she? She was already swooning from that smile. The man called out to someone nearby. "Hey, Onto! Help her cross the road, will you?" "Yes, bye." "I got it," came the reply from behind. And that's where it all began, that very moment. Aru realized then, this man was immensely popular in the university. From that day onward, she started watching him, from behind walls, across benches, during lazy noons or rust-stained afternoons. Her eyes would wander campus corners searching for just one glimpse of him. And if they found it, she'd glow with quiet joy. Aru saw it all, yet pretended she hadn't. Her aunt had thrown question after question, but what could she even say in one word? "I have a headache, Mommy. I'm going to rest." "Appa is at the hospital with Ma," Aru replied without turning back. Go ahead, enjoy all the comfort you can. Once the real owner of this house returns, you'll all be thrown out by the scruff of your neck," Mommy snapped. "I've told Anu time and again, let me arrange the marriage with Reza. But the girls become completely insolent, always arguing back with elders. That's what happens when children grow up without proper discipline." Mommy's words hit Aru like needles. The anger she tried to suppress surged back, sharp and piercing. Without turning around, Aru said, "That soft chair you're lounging in, chewing grapes, it was bought with the little Sahib's money, Mommy. And in the absence of Jamshed Zayan Chowdhury, it is my mother who chairs the governing board of JK Group." A mocking smirk played across her aunt's lips. This tiny girl really has grown a sharp tongue, she thought. And then, like a warrior hurling a retaliatory arrow, Mommy said, "Maybe your mother has rights. But you 2 sisters have none. You're just floating weeds. And your mother, she doesn't have long. 6 months at best." "You've said too much, Mommy. Nothing's going to happen to our mother. We'll take her abroad for treatment," Aru snapped. Mommy let out another stinging laugh. "You think Zayan Critic Chowdhury or his company is waiting to sponsor you? From what I hear, it's because of you he had to leave this house." Aru couldn't take it anymore. Her mind was a tangled mess of anxiety. Her body trembled. She couldn't even form words. She hadn't expected her aunt to attack her so cruelly. She glanced at the faces around her, eyes filled with silent judgment, like they could burn her to ash with just their stare. She didn't stay in that living room another second. Climbing the stairs 2 at a time, she slammed the door to her room shut. Inside, she felt like she was being torn apart. Helplessness wrapped around her like a suffocating jungle. The pain of Nikhil Bai's departure now stung like salt and chili on an open wound. Why couldn't life be normal, like it was for Nilima or Taithi? Why did her life carry so many burdens? Why couldn't she express her feelings for Nikhil with ease? Was it just her introverted nature, or was it the weight of family chaos and obligations? As she thought about Nikhil leaving, her mind drifted to the day they first met. It wasn't that long ago, just a few months. Aru had gone to submit her documents for university admission. Because of her mother's illness, she couldn't make it to a prestigious place like Dhaka University. Still, she'd gotten a spot through the cluster system with the prep she managed. That winter morning was crisp, though the cold hadn't fully settled in. The soft sunlight felt pleasant. Cars zoomed by in long rows, like every Dhaka morning, but Aru wasn't used to crossing roads alone. She stood helplessly on the far side of the road, waiting for a gap in traffic. Others darted through the spaces between vehicles, but Aru didn't have the courage. Every time she stepped forward, she stepped back twice. Left, right, left. It went on for nearly half an hour. Aru was getting frustrated. How could she manage this every day if it continued like this? "Are you scared?" A masculine voice pierced through from behind. Aru turned, startled. There he was, smiling gently, a dimple on his cheek. He had asked her. She was frozen. Couldn't say yes, couldn't say no. How could she? That smile alone had knocked the breath out of her. Then he called out to someone nearby. "Hey, Onto, help her cross the road." A boy behind them replied. "Yes, bye. I got her." And that was it, the beginning of her silent fondness. Aru realized this man was quite popular on campus. From then on, she'd secretly observe him. On lazy afternoons or rust-colored evenings, her eyes would search for him around campus. A single glimpse would flood her heart with joy, bringing a shy smile to her lips, a smile that hadn't faded since. She never had the courage to talk to him directly. Aru didn't even know how Nikhil had learned her name. But his entire biodata? She had it memorized like a holy scripture. And yet, what good was any of it now? Nikhil was leaving, miles and miles away from her. Among chemical labs and science experiments, he might even forget the name Aurora, her name. And there was no guarantee they'd ever meet again. Just thinking about it made tears roll silently down her cheeks. If you're not going to be mine, then may happiness itself become a curse that burns you to ash. Little did foolish Aru know, someone out there had been waiting for her, with a love even more venomous than this.